Hello, beautiful soul. I hope you're doing absolutely amazing. Okay, hot off the press this week is the 2024 report done by Gallup, and it is the State of the Global Workplace report. And basically, they collect all this data from employees and management and company all over the world from 2020 through, and they compile and collect all this data and put out a report every year so we can get a picture of what's really going on in the workplace, right? You may have heard of it before. And if you want to see the report, just DM me and I'm happy to fire you off the link to download that report. So I've gone through this report, and in this video, I want to actually share three things with you. First of all, I want to highlight some of the things they've talked about that I think that are really, really important. First of all, I want to say that I wasn't terribly surprised, wasn't surprised at all actually, by anything that they shared, because it's exactly what I see when I work with people. Although I was happy to see that they're talking about some things that I do think we need to be talking about. And I'll share what those are. Second thing is, because I work with clients one-on-one, and a lot of what they experience is a lot of what they talk about in this report, I have some insights into how to shift that. If you are somebody who is right now feeling disengaged, not enjoying your job, not loving it, or whatever that looks like for you, some themes that have showed up consistently in working with clients one-on-one, and I want to share those with you. These are powerful and profound. When clients work with me and they figure this out, it totally shifts them. It totally shifts how they approach their career, their job search, everything. And I want to share those with you here today because I want to see you make a shift, have a shift, okay? Third thing I want to do is I want to share an exercise or two that you can do taking those themes into consideration. Okay. So first of all, I want to give you sort of a broad overview of what the report says. Now, I've actually written down a bunch of things, and what I'm sharing here are direct quotes actually from the report, okay? I wrote them out. So if you see me looking down here, I'm just reading. Okay, so they said overall, in 2023, global engagement stagnated, and overall employee well-being declined. So not great that employee well-being declined, obviously. Global engagement, I know it wasn't a great percentage, and I don't know what it was the year before. And that definitely is an issue, okay? And I'll share a bit more of information about that as I move along here, but that definitely, the engagement is an issue. Second thing I want to share is they said 41% of employees experience, and this is their quote, a lot of stress. That was their measurement, whatever that means, okay? So 41%. That to me is a really high number. Third thing I want to mention is they said employees who dislike their jobs tend to have high levels of daily stress and worry, as well as elevated levels of all other negative emotions. And I think we know that. I think we really know that, but I think it's worth mentioning. It's significant, right? It's significant. I think sometimes we downplay it. We try to just kind of grit our teeth and get through it, but this is significant. So in terms of employee well-being, so they said employee well-being went down. So it went from 35% to 34%, meaning 34% say they are thriving at work. Now, I want to flip that around because it also means that 66% are not thriving. Now, whether that means they're just doing okay or they're doing horribly, that those numbers don't tell you that story. However, 66% are not thriving, meaning the majority of people are not thriving, okay? The next thing I want to mention, this now heads right into the employee engagement part. And it says when employees are engaged at work, they have significantly higher hope for their future lives overall. This is huge. This is huge. So many of us were raised, and still this corporate culture is this idea that your professional life is just, say over here, here's your professional life and who you are at work, and then this is who you are in your personal life. And you're supposed to somehow like compartmentalize, which is really unhealthy anyways, right? And most people are realizing that like we're the same person. And I, you know, for me talking to people and working with people, I know that people are tired of having to be two separate people or trying to be two separate people and having to be this like fake persona while they're at work, become a different person. And what's really important about what they said here, and this is why I'm so passionate about what I do, is that your work just isn't your work. Your work and how you feel in those 40 to 60 hours a week, however much you work, it affects every area of your life. Like it's literally impossible for you to have the most blissful, joyful, amazing life experience overall if you hate your work, if you're stressed at work. And this is what I do, why I do what I do. It's like we've got to stop thinking that it's just my job. It's just my job. It's just my job. The rest of my life, I want to focus on my family, or I want to focus on my friends, or I want to focus on the rest of my life. I don't want to think about work. It's like awful. But the truth of the matter is we can't avoid it because really it's negatively affecting the rest of our lives. So I think it's really important that they mentioned that here. And they said actually, a great job is strongly associated with hope for the future. Like with hope. And man, does this world ever need more hope, right? So the last thing I want to mention, and this is going to lead into those two themes I talked about. They said employee engagement is a significant factor in overall life experiences. And that ties a lot of this together to what I was saying. It's like, you know, basically what they're saying is if you're completely disengaged at work, it's going to affect your whole life experience, you know. And if you are, you know, actively engaged and enjoying it, it's also going to affect your life experience, but obviously in a more positive way. We really need to start seeing that because what I see is people, you know, and I understand this. I totally get this. It's like they're looking at their life and they're like, I'm not happy with work. I mean, I'm not being treated fairly, or I dislike the work. So I don't want to deal with it. I'm just going to like, just suck it up. I'm just going to do it. Right. And I get it. Like, I don't want to invest any time. I don't want to invest any money. I don't want to invest anything in it because it's just, oh, I don't want to do that. But your life is only as good as the weakest link, as the worst part of it. Right. And so what we actually need to do is dive into that piece and fix that piece, and then the rest of your life also elevates. Like your career elevates, your work life elevates, and then the rest of your life elevates. And this is why I'm so passionate about what I do, because I've seen it, I've lived it. I have had so many people tell me this, that they did not realize how much their work was negatively impacting them until they made a switch. They didn't actually realize it. And it makes sense because these things are gradual. It's like the frog in the pot of water. And when it first goes in the water is like room temperature. And the frog's like, oh, this is great. And doesn't realize the temperature's going up and up and up and up and up, right? Next thing you know, the frog's getting boiled, right? It's the same thing here. We just, year after year after year, you see well-being numbers are getting worse and worse and worse. But it's like, you know, 1% here, 2% here, 3% here. But the next thing you know, a few years have gone by and it's 10%. Then it's maybe 20%, right? So this is really, really key. And this is, like I said, why I'm so passionate about what I'm doing, because I've also seen my own life. I saw in my personal life, I could only get so far because my career was holding me back. My lack of love and enjoyment and being really excited and passionate about it was negatively affecting my personal life. So I think it's really important that they mention that here. Okay, the two themes I want to talk about now. Okay, so when I work with clients, we go through a number of things to figure out what is the next career step for them, okay? And it varies with everybody what that might look at, right? There's no like, this is what most people do. Like, this is all about you tapping into what makes you happy, what lights you up, right? One of the things, though, we absolutely have to figure out is what is missing from your current career. Like, you have to know what's missing, because if it was there, you'd be happy, right? So what are some of the missing ingredients? And there are two things. that when I go through this process with people, two things that I see more consistently than anything else, okay? And this is probably around the range of 85% of the people I work with. That's a really high number in my opinion, okay? Two things they're missing. And it's directly related to this engagement number and this lack of satisfaction numbers. The first thing is they are missing connection. So connection is a big concept, it's a big word, and it means a lot of different things. So there's lots of different ways you can connect to your work. It could be connecting to the company. It could be connecting to the company's mission, connecting to the company's values, connecting to the CEO's philosophy and the way they manage, connecting to your own boss, connecting to your team, connecting to the projects that you're working on, connecting to the value that you're creating. Like there are so many different layers and levels to this. It's a big word, like I said, but I see this time and time and time again that people are lacking connection. And so when you talk about engagement, well, we don't engage with something if we're not really connected to it. Like we don't. It makes sense. So when I hear this, I'm like, engagement, it's like it's this low level and it's affecting people. I get it because I see the other side. Now, when people come to me, they don't say to me, I'm not engaged or I'm lacking connection. Like this is the journey we walk through. They come to me and they say, I'm not happy. Like I'm missing something. Something's not right. And it's through this journey that we uncover this piece here. And it's connection. And again, like I said, how can you really be engaging in any kind of effective and meaningful way if you don't feel any kind of connection to what you're doing, the experience, or anything? However, I believe this is a significant problem, and this is part of the solution, is creating connection, right? The second thing I see a lot of is people are needing creativity. Now, I want to unpack the word creativity. That's my word for it. But creativity is really just self-expression. So you look at engagement again. What is engagement? Engagement is self-expression. And again, this is one of the other things that can come in many different ways. I mean, I've had people kind of go, I'm not creative. Like, well, I'm missing creativity. Creativity, there's so many layers to this. And it can come in so many different forms. And of course, you're unique to you, and how you want to express yourself creatively is going to be unique to your experience. But if you think about it, if you're not able to express yourself creatively and actually just to have any kind of self-expression at work, how do you feel? You're a cog in the wheel, basically. You're just churning. You're just churning out stuff. You're just doing. Right? You're literally just following a procedure over and over and over again. And so when you look at, well, lack of engagement, like how engaged can you be if you're not able to express yourself? I mean, I even look at the corporate attire. Like, I know it's evolved over the years, but still there's this acceptable thing about how you look. You're not able to really express yourself. You're not actually able to do a lot of this stuff. The name of the game in corporate, and so much of the corporate world, and this is not everyone, is conformity. And I'm talking to people and they're all telling me, I want to express myself creatively. Like we can see. And so when I look at these numbers and I see that, well, employee engagement's a problem. I get it because people are telling me that in their way when I work with them. So what I do when I work with people is we figure out how to get that connection and then how to, express that creatively. And, there's a whole bunch of things we do, right? It's far beyond the scope of this video here. But the reason why I'm telling you this is that if you are somebody who is not feeling engaged, that's the first area I would start looking at. Absolutely. Okay. And now I want to get into what is an exercise you could do. So if right now you're going, yeah, I don't really feel connected. Like I just don't. Or I'm not able to really express myself creatively. And like I said, it doesn't need to be like a project. It could be just like speaking your truth at a meeting. That could literally be it. Like, when you're sitting around in a meeting and everybody's going to know what I'm talking about. When you're in a meeting and you've probably been having the same meeting for weeks and months and months and months, right? Same meeting, nothing gets resolved because there's an elephant in the room that nobody wants to talk about. That's not creating engagement. There's just somebody in there who's not speaking their truth. Chances are most people aren't speaking their truth, right? So this can show up in a myriad of ways. But if you're somebody right now who's, kind of feeling I'm not engaged, this is what I would, offer as a suggestion for you. Take it or leave it. So to not get too much into like manifestation, how we create change in our life, I will just, because that's another rabbit hole and that's another whole, probably multiple videos. But basically, your outer world is created as a reflection of your inner world, right? Most people try to go around and change the outside world. So if they're not feeling engaged, they try and find a new job, right? That's the first response. I'm just going to change something. What you really have to do is understand yourself first and really change parts of you on the inside. And again, I'm really glossing over this really quickly for the sake of this video. But here's the exercise, basically. That's the reason why I'm suggesting this exercise. If you're not feeling connected with your work, and again, you're lacking creativity, connect to yourself. Connect to yourself. And that might sound silly and it might sound ridiculous. And you might look at me like I'm a crazy person, but it works. It really works. Connect with yourself. Disconnect from your phone. Disconnect from the TV. Disconnect from the other, rest of this crazy world that's out here. And tap into yourself. Spend some time alone. Spend some time without distraction. Start getting to know yourself better. Ask yourself some questions like, what do I really, really desire? What really lights me up? And this is not a brain exercise, okay? Most people will go to their head. What do I think I want? I want a job that does this, or I want this. No. What does your heart want? Like when you like think of your greatest dreams, your greatest wishes, ask yourself, like, what are my burning desires for this life? Because that's connecting you back to you and your soul. That is going to start to open you up. To create that connection in the outside world first requires you creating that connection on the inside. But ask yourself those big questions. People are so afraid to admit what they want. And I get it. I mean, so much of this world is like, oh, that's not realistic. Oh, no, really? Is that who you think you are? Whatever message. We've all received messages, right? About, what's realistic and what's possible for you. But I can guarantee you that anybody who's done anything significant in this world had dreams that were unrealistic. I mean, can you imagine a woman like Oprah Winfrey when she was a kid going, you know what, I want to be one of the richest women in the world and I want to run a multi-billion-dollar or however many, much money it is, company. She would have been laughed at. Are you kidding me? She would have been laughed at. Any singer, any sports legend, they had insane dreams. They had dreams that were not realistic. The difference between those is they actually followed those dreams, right? But a lot of people, we've had, things happen where we've really tamped down our dreams. Really connect to yourself. That's what life is really asking you to do at this moment, is connect to yourself. The second thing is express yourself creatively. Like, find something to do. It's so interesting. When I was a CPA, these are two things that I was missing being a CPA. I'm very familiar with them because there were things I was missing. So what I actually started to do was I started to find ways to have these things expressed in my personal life so I would still have that in my life. So when I was a CPA, I had all these creative hobbies. Like I would love to garden, I did house decorate, and I had all these creative hobbies. Well, since I've changed careers and now my current career allows me all that creativity, I've ditched all those hobbies and created all new ones. It's actually quite funny. But what you can do if you're not having that creativity in your workplace, you're not able to express yourself, do it in your personal life. And yeah, there's so many ways to be creative. It could be cooking a meal. It could be writing. It could be singing. It could be like karaoke. I mean, I don't know, like honestly, it could be absolutely anything. But what you want to do is connect to that part of yourself again. Once you start to connect to you in all these different and beautiful ways, what happens is you start to move forward. And if you're somebody right now who's part of the statistics that are talked about in this Gallup report, it helps you start to move forward because we get stuck in a loop, right? And just know, you absolutely have the power to change whatever circumstance you are in. You are far more powerful than you could possibly ever imagine. And I always say, if I could make a career change, okay, now keep this in mind. I've been a single parent since 2008. 100% custody. Like the cards were stacked against me. We all have a story. We all have a story. But I know that if I can do it, you can do it too. Just start with those 2 exercises, and what'll start to happen is you're going to start to feel really good about yourself. And you know what? When you start to feel really good about yourself, then you start to take other action. That's the secret. Start to feel good about you again. Don't try and change that workplace right now. Tap into you first. That's the secret. All right, beautiful souls. I'm going to leave this video here. I knew it would be a long one. I hope you stayed tuned till the end. And I mean, if you are somebody who's ready to like take the leap forward and change careers, obviously reach out to me. My programs are such that that's what I do in the first number of weeks I work with somebody. I connect them back to themselves. That's the first thing I always do. And it really truly is the first step for anybody who wants to make a switch. But if you are ready, you're like, yeah, girl, it's go time. Absolutely, fire me a message. You can head over to my website, www.andreahorvath.com. I've actually got a special on right now, my signature program, my most popular program, Crossroads to Career Clarity. I'm actually offering 30 days extra Voxer support, which is basically voicemail support, text messaging support, 24/7, which is huge. A game changer when people are making changes to have me in their back pocket, essentially. So now is also a great time. I am only offering that to the first 3 people, the next 3 people who sign up for that program. So if you are thinking of making a change, now is a great time because you get that bonus. But I hope this video was super helpful for you. I'd love to hear your comments and give that exercise a try. And if you do, I'd also love to hear, how does it go? All right, beautiful souls. Have a wonderful, wonderful week, and I will talk to you soon. Take care.